The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime, and Victoria Hale, the steel-nerved CEO of Hale Enterprises, stepped inside. Her heels clicked against the polished floor, echoing faintly in the confined space. She had just finished a grueling board meeting where executives argued over profit margins, mergers, and the ever-looming threat of layoffs. Her mind was still racing with numbers, decisions, and strategies when her gaze fell upon two figures already standing in the elevator. A janitor in a faded uniform and his young son. Victoria barely noticed them at first. After all, she was used to employees and their children drifting in and out of the building. But what caught her attention wasn't the janitor. It was the boy. Maybe 8 years old, with wide brown eyes that carried a seriousness no child his age should wear. He was clutching his father's hand tightly, as though the world beyond those fingers was dangerous. Victoria offered them a polite nod, but before she could say a word, the boy's eyes darted toward her, sharp and urgent. His small voice sliced through the humming silence. "Don't talk." The words startled her. Victoria froze, lips parting, uncertain if she'd heard correctly. The boy's father, Mr. Ramirez, she vaguely remembered his name from the employee roster, looked mortified. "Lucas," he whispered harshly, tugging at his son's sleeve. "That's the CEO, apologize." But the boy didn't back down. His stare remained fixed on Victoria, serious, pleading. "Please," he repeated softly. "Don't talk. Not yet." Victoria's hand hovered near the button panel, her instinct to assert control rising, but something about the boy's urgency made her pause. She lowered her hand. "All right," she said carefully. "I won't." The elevator doors shut. They began to descend. Silence stretched between them, heavy and strange. Victoria studied the boy, noticing details she usually ignored. The faint shadows beneath his eyes, the way he pressed a small inhaler against his chest, and the way his shoulders hunched as if bracing for something unseen. His father kept glancing nervously at him, torn between embarrassment and concern. Finally, when the elevator stopped at the 10th floor to let 2 more employees in, the boy whispered, just loud enough for her to hear. "He listens when it's quiet." Victoria's brows furrowed. She leaned slightly closer, careful not to frighten him. "Who listens?" she asked gently. Lucas placed a finger against his lips, urging her to stay silent. His father shook his head, muttering, "He's been like this for weeks." "I'm sorry, ma'am. He imagines things." But Victoria wasn't so sure. She'd built her empire by noticing what others overlooked, and something about Lucas's gaze, the intensity, the sincerity, told her this wasn't just a child's imagination. The elevator reached the lobby, and the others stepped out. Victoria remained. Something compelled her to stay inside with the janitor and his son. "Take another ride down with me," she said, surprising even herself. Mr. Ramirez hesitated, torn between fear of offending the CEO and protecting his son's fragile state, but Lucas tugged at his sleeve and nodded. "Please, Dad. Just one more ride." The doors closed again. As the elevator ascended this time, the boy closed his eyes. He whispered something inaudible, then opened them wide. "There. Do you hear it?" Victoria held her breath, listening. At first, there was nothing, just the soft hum of the machinery. Then faintly, barely distinguishable, she heard a grinding noise, a screech that didn't sound normal. The janitor stiffened. That's not right." Victoria frowned. "Is it dangerous?" Before Mr. Ramirez could answer, the elevator jolted violently. The lights flickered, and all 3 of them grabbed the rails for support. Lucas gasped, clutching his chest, wheezing. "I told you," he cried softly. "He listens when it's quiet. The elevator, it's broken." Victoria's pulse quickened. The weight of her position suddenly meant nothing compared to the reality of being trapped in a malfunctioning elevator with a frightened child and his father. The elevator ground to a halt between floors. Mr. Ramirez reached for the emergency phone. "Hello? Hello? We're stuck between 12 and 13. My son's with me. Please, he has asthma." Lucas's breathing grew shallow. He pressed the inhaler but coughed violently. Victoria's instincts as a CEO were useless here. Profit margins couldn't save a gasping child. She crouched beside him, her voice low, soothing. "Stay with me, Lucas. Just breathe slowly, in and out." The boy looked at her with tear-filled eyes. "I told you not to talk at first, because the elevator, He listens when it's quiet. If we made noise, it would get angry faster. Victoria's heart clenched. She realized he wasn't speaking literally. He had sensed something wrong with the machine, something adults ignored. His silence had been his way of protecting them. Minutes crawled by. The intercom crackled, rescue crews were on their way. But Lucas's condition worsened. His small frame shook, and his father's hands trembled helplessly. Without thinking, Victoria reached into her purse. She carried emergency medications due to her own mild asthma, a detail almost no one knew. She pulled out a spare inhaler. Here. Use this, it's stronger. Mr. Ramirez's eyes widened with relief. He helped Lucas take a puff, and slowly, mercifully, the boy's breathing steadied. His shoulders relaxed. The janitor whispered, voice breaking, "You just saved his life." Victoria shook her head. "He saved ours first, if he hadn't noticed the sounds." The elevator shuddered again. Rescue workers' voices echoed faintly above. They were prying open the doors. When daylight finally streamed in and strong hands pulled them to safety, Victoria found herself holding Lucas's hand, reluctant to let go. Outside, EMTs checked the boy. His father kept thanking her, but Victoria felt the gratitude was misplaced. That night, as she sat alone in her penthouse overlooking the city, Victoria replayed the moment in the elevator over and over. The boy's words haunted her, "Don't talk." It wasn't just about silence, it was about listening, about paying attention to what others ignored. The next morning, Victoria made a decision. She summoned her board and announced a new initiative, free healthcare coverage for all employees and their families, regardless of position. The room erupted in shocked murmurs, but she silenced them with one sharp glance. "You don't know what it's like to watch a child struggle to breathe," she said firmly. "I do now. No parent who works under this roof should ever have to choose between rent and medicine." And though the executives protested about costs, she didn't waver. Weeks later, she visited the janitor's family. Lucas ran to greet her, healthier, smiling. "The elevator's fixed now," he said proudly. Victoria knelt down, meeting his eyes. "I think you fixed more than the elevator, Lucas." And for the first time in years, the hardened CEO felt something stir in her chest, a sense of hope, of humanity, of connection that no business deal had ever given her. Because sometimes, it took the smallest voice in the quietest moment to change everything.